What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six Christmas Cocktail Edition, and I figured who better than my buddy Mike over here to show us a few cocktails and tell us a little bit about what we're drinking today. So, first of all, what are the two drinks we're actually going to be drinking today?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Rob, for having me. Today we're going to have two drinks. One, I figured because this is Whiskey in the Six, I thought that it would make sense to make the Toronto cocktail. It's a great cocktail. It's made with Canadian whiskey. We're going to use some Lot 40 cask strength.
So before we continue, I just want to point out that we have probably a whole bunch of whiskey connoisseurs out there. They can't believe that we're using some cask strength whiskey, but they say the better the whiskey you use, the better the cocktail is going to be. And a lot of the well-to-do bartenders these days are using some high quality whiskeys to make their cocktails. So
yeah, that's absolutely true, Rob. It's just like everything else. Your cocktails are going to only be as good as the worst ingredient that you put in there. So today we're going to use high quality whiskey because we're going to make a high quality cocktail. So we're going to use some rye whiskey. We're going to use Fernet Branca. This is a very, very bitter, herbaceous Italian liqueur. On its own, it'll put some hair on your chest, but in this drink, I think it cuts through the whiskey really well.
it cuts through the sweetness too, right? Like that's the purpose of the...
For sure, exactly. I think the spiciness of the rye and the herbalness of this Fernet really go well hand in hand. We're going to use just some simple syrup. I'm just reusing another bottle, but this is simple syrup. It's just 1 part sugar to 1 part water. Very simple to make. You put a 1/4 cup of sugar and a 1/4 cup of water in a bottle, shake it up till it dissolves. You got simple syrup. And then we're going to use some Angostura bitters. And because it's Christmas, I thought maybe we could make a holiday drink when you're entertaining some people. Maybe, you know, some people aren't interested in drinking whiskey. They like vodka or gin or rum. And this is a great drink to introduce some people to whiskey because it's a really great drink.
So, an example of when you would use this, like, let's say you have clients over, you're talking mortgages. So for those of you that don't know, Mike does mortgages for a living. What would you serve them? These are kind of the drinks that you would serve, like a cocktail with, I don't know, the Toronto, for example. Or...
yeah, you know what? It's a great cocktail to make for everybody. I mean, I am a mortgage agent. I don't know if I've served a cocktail to any of my prospective clients, but I definitely do to my friends. You know, the whiskey is a great base for a cocktail, and this just, for any party, for any time you have people over, these cocktails would be absolutely fantastic. So
we got a local whiskey here. So this is 12 barrels. We wanted to support that today by using that in the...
Yeah, perfect. So we're going to use this 12 barrel Canadian whiskey. It's at 40% ABV. Right here, we're going to add some cranberry simple syrup. So I spoke about the simple syrup here. It's just 1-to-1 sugar. This is a little bit more complex, but not difficult at all. It's just, you're going to put some cranberry, you're going to put some water and sugar in a saucepan. You're going to dissolve that sugar. You're going to throw some fresh or frozen cranberries in there until just before they pop and burst. You're going to take that off, and then you're just going to squeeze the cranberries right into a sieve. You can add that to basically anything, cooking, anything like that.
I had a chance to try it earlier, and it's pretty tasty stuff. So
okay, so that's what we're going to make.
So talk me through this process. We have some frosted glasses here. What are we going to do first?
Okay, so basically there's three ways you can make a cocktail. There might be more, but 3 main ways. One is to shake. So most people are familiar with shaking. You know, you got one of these shakers with the lid on it, and you put some ice and you shake it. That's one type of way to make a cocktail. Another way is to make it in the glass, which we'll be doing with the Christmas cocktail. But the third way is to stir it. Okay, so basically the way that you determine which way you're gonna which type of cocktail or how you're gonna make that cocktail is if you're gonna have a juice in it of some sort, it's gonna be a shaken drink. Okay, like a whiskey sour, for instance. If you're going to have an old-fashioned, you can make it in the drink. You know, you might want to muddle some fruit at the bottom. That's what we're going to do with this old-fashioned. I know traditional old-fashioned, that's not the way you do it, but this particular old-fashioned you are. And I know in Mad Men they did it. That's the way they made the old-fashioned. So, you know, that's how all these cocktails basically came back to life. So You'll build that in the glass. You also build like a Negroni in the glass as well. But if it's going to be, you know, strictly alcohol and maybe just some aromatics like the bitters, then you're going to stir it. And the reason being is that you want to keep the silkiness of the alcohol, and you want to keep a clear color to it. Shaken drinks, you're going to get some ice particles. It's going to be cloudy, but you really want the presentation of the drink to come out when you're using just alcohol.
Like that classy look, like that's why James
Bond. Martini, yeah. Right? A classic is a martini. James Bond drinks a shaken martini. It's a little different, but a classic martini, gin, vermouth, you know, should be, well, not should be. You can really make a cocktail any way you want, but the classic way to do it is stirred. Because you want to keep that clear look, a velvety, smooth feel to it, okay? So, first, we're going to go in with the lot 40, okay? So we put the ice after, and we do that because we want to control the dilution. So dilution is really important, but we don't want to put the ice in first, because as we're pouring the beverages in, the alcohol in, then it's already going to start to dilute, and then we lose control of it, okay? So we're going to put the ingredients in first, then we'll add the ice after. So we're going to grab it's called a jigger. So they come in different shapes and sizes. This is one type of jigger, this is another one. You can get a graduated one, so meaning this one here, this is a particular size each side. Yeah. This is a graduated one where, you know, it has markings on it and it just keeps going up. So they're all different sizes.
Whiskey and the Six fans know that I should probably be using a jigger to pour my whiskeys because they're always a little heavier than...
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's always a little heavier handed.
I mean, you can use anything. You can use an OXO if you have one of those plastic measuring cups, and you can use anything. But it is pretty important to stick with the recipe close enough. You can adjust later for your liking, but I think if you are going to try to make any of these cocktails or cocktails for the first time, try to stick with, you know, a proven recipe, okay?
So question, because this is a higher ABV, would you put a little bit less than an ounce or?
No, I wouldn't. We'll control that by the dilution.
Right.
Okay? Because you may want it a little bit stronger.
Right. Instead of adding a double shot, you're using a cast strength whiskey, so it
yeah, so we'll use the same amount, but we'll control it by how much we're going to stir it and how much water we're going to allow into the drink. I forgot. Water is a very, very important ingredient in any cocktail. Okay? So you want to dilute that to your liking, right. The level of your liking. Okay? And that only comes with practice. So we're going to go in with 2 ounces of the lot 40. So this is 1.5 ounce jigger here. And this is 1/2 ounce for 2 ounces. Okay. Then we're going to go in with the Fernet. Just 1/4 ounce because this is some potent stuff.
So half of that little thing.
Yeah, half of that little thing. Okay. And we taste before we mix, so we'll know if we need to add a little bit. Then we're going to go in with another 1/4 ounce of the simple syrup.
So 1/4 ounce of the simple syrup. This is not meant to be an overly sweet.
No, absolutely not. No, this is a pretty alcohol forward drink, and it comes out very alcohol forward. Then we're going to go in with a couple dashes of these Angostura bitters. Okay. So now we're going to go in with some ice. So it's got some ice right here. You want to, you know, at least half of that mixing glass of ice. This is probably a little too, not enough, but it'll do the trick. So what we want to do here is we want to stir it. So this is a fancy cocktail spoon. It takes practice to use it. I don't even know how to use it. I have one. I play around with it sometimes, but I don't know. Everyone can, you don't need one of these to stir a drink. Everybody has a chopstick in their house. Yeah. So you just grab your chopstick and you just stir it. You hold it and you stir it. So the key to this as well, I didn't mention it, is to have everything as chilled as possible because you want to control the dilution. If your mixing glass is warm, then it's going to melt that ice a lot quicker. So you want your mixing glass, you know, pop it in the freezer a few minutes before you're going to do that. Same with your actual glass. You want to pour a cold drink. Cocktails should be as cold as possible,
Right.
and enjoyed cold. You want to stir it to where you like that drink the best, because you're not having further dilution in the glass, because as you can see, we're using a coupe glass.
Too small to put ice inside.
And that's not meant to have ice in it, okay? So now we're just gonna grab a strainer. And again, this is a fancy strainer. I'm sure some people, you know, have seen one of these strainers.
Right.
This is a Hawthorne strainer. If you have a slotted spoon in your kitchen, just use that. I have this here, so this is what I'm gonna use. So we just pop that right here. And again, I'm no professional. I don't have the proper technique. But the key is you just wanna keep the ice in the mixing glass, and you want the alcohol to go into the glass. Yeah. So you're just gonna pour it nice and smooth.
And I guess if you had any other mashed things in there and you didn't want them in the glass, you would use that strainer for that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. That's done. Now we're just gonna finish this off with a nice little garnish. So we're gonna use Amarena cherries. So these cherries are absolutely phenomenal. You can put these on anything. Ice cream, they're amazing, okay? So they're not like those bright red maraschino cherries that you find in the grocery store. They're super. And this is what we're just gonna use as a garnish. We're just gonna pop that on top. And there's your Toronto cocktail.
Awesome.
So,
cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
Looks delicious. That is delicious, and you can really taste the La Forte, which is nice because you want to be able to taste a premium liquid inside of the cocktail, but that cocktail is just beautiful.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a great, it's not well known, and it just so happens that it's got a great name to it.
Yeah,
the Toronto cocktail.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the traditional, but not so traditional, old fashioned. And the only reason this is not so traditional is because you are using the cranberry simple syrup.
Exactly. So an old fashioned is a very simple drink. It's whiskey and sugar, splash of water, unless you use simple syrup, and some bitters, right? Yeah. Over ice.
Most Canadian bars, Ontario especially, you go into a bar, you ask for an old fashioned, they're usually gonna give it to you with a Canadian whiskey. Absolutely,
yeah, for sure. So this one here, just because for the holidays, we're just gonna add a little bit of cranberry because it's pretty festive. And like I said before, we're gonna build this one in the glass. So this is nice and frosted. That way everything just stays a lot colder, okay? So we're gonna build this in the drink, but first, this drink's a little different. We're gonna muddle some fruit at the bottom of it, okay? So here we have an orange peel, an orange wedge, I'm sorry, and 3 cranberries. Again, fresh or frozen, just let them thaw out, I guess. I mean, you probably don't even have to. If they're frozen, it's probably better.
Adds to the...
Yeah. I do like to drop a splash of the spirit, just a splash, when you're muddling. Just so that you can muddle it a little bit. With some liquid, okay? Yeah. So this fancy spoon happens to have a muddler on one end, but you can use anything. You can use a rolling pin, you can use the end of a wooden spoon, you can use a regular spoon, doesn't matter. You just want to get in there and you just want to squeeze some of this fruit in.
Flat surface is ideal though.
Yeah, well, for sure. And you just want to give it a little stir there, okay? Then you're going to go in with the simple syrup. So here, this is a bit of a sweeter drink. We're going to go with 1 ounce of simple syrup. So we're going to go in with 1 ounce. Okay.
And that's a 1/2 ounce.
This is a 1/2 ounce measure right there. Then we're going to go in with 2 ounces. I'm going to use this graduated container here, so just to mix it up a little bit. So we're just going to pour it in here. And there's the 2 ounces. And we're going to go in with 2 dashes of Angostura bitters.
What other type of bitters could you use for this particular drink?
Well, since it's a cranberry drink, I happen to have cranberry bitters from Dillon's distillery out in the Niagara region. Yeah. They make a lot of amazing products there, and their bitters are phenomenal.
Yeah. They use fresh ingredients for almost all their things.
Exactly. And this just, it adds an added scent, an aroma when you're drinking it. So I like to put this on right at the end where it can almost kind of coat the ice cubes that are sitting at the top of the drink. So when you go in for that drink, you get that aroma of cranberry, okay? Okay, so now that the ingredients are in, we're gonna go in with the ice. So, you know, I would suggest you not use freezer ice out of the ice maker. It's wet, it's cloudy. I suggest that, you know, everybody can make really good ice. This is clear ice. This is just a thing that I like to do. I just like to try to make clear ice. It looks really nice in a glass, but it's a little bit of work. You know, you don't have to do that. It doesn't add any flavor or anything to the drink. It's just for appearances. So I would just suggest getting a Tupperware container, filling it with some water, popping it in your freezer, and just, you know, and then once it's frozen, just break off some chunks. That way you know you have some, it's not gonna be wet like the ice that comes out of your ice maker, okay? And this way, again, you can control your dilution. So just, we're gonna drop in that piece of ice there. We're at the end here, so we're just gonna drop some cranberry bitters in there for some extra aroma. And this here, we're just gonna garnish with some fresh cranberries. So very important to garnish your drink because we enjoy things with our eyes as well. So this here is the cranberry old fashioned.
So this is our cranberry old fashioned, holiday style old fashioned. Perfect for the festivities. As you can see, we're all set up over here for Christmas. Let's give it a try. Cheers.
Cheers. That's
really
good.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, you don't taste the tartness of the cranberry. It's sweet and tart in the same, and the whiskey does come through really nice in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes whiskey approachable for everybody.
That's right.
You know, some people, you know, a little bit worried about drinking whiskey. Maybe they think it's too strong. Whatever the case, you know, this here makes it approachable for absolutely everybody. It'd be a crowd pleaser for sure.
Absolutely. And what I like to say is start with a cocktail. If you're having an evening out with friends, whatever, start with a cocktail, then move your way into something a little heavier later on in the evening, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? It changes it up. I know most of your viewers are probably guys or girls that like to drink their whiskey straight up. This just adds another element of how you can enjoy whiskey because it's a great spirit and it can be enjoyed in so many different ways. And it's fun. It's a talking point when you have people over. It's a really fun thing to do when you have a party or company.
Absolutely, and these are beautiful. These are really tasty.
Let's have another little sip here.
I always actually get into a little bit of trouble with cocktails because I drink them too fast. Unlike sipping a regular whiskey, and they just taste so good. So.
Absolutely, and like I said, you have to drink it cold. So it's not supposed to be something that it takes long to drink. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for doing this. Why don't you tell these guys where they can find you? This way, if they need any mortgage help.
Absolutely. Thanks. I really appreciate you inviting me to do the channel here. So if you want to find me, I'm at Michael Butcher Mortgages on Instagram, or you can go visit my website. It's mortgagetrain.com. If you ever need any advice or help with mortgages, you know, please, you know, give me a shout. And if you work with me for your mortgage, not only will you get the best mortgage product, but I guarantee you'll get a killer cocktail as well.
Guys, I'm gonna leave a link below in the description where you guys can check out Mike, find out a little bit more about what he does, and if you need some mortgage assistance, he'd be happy to do that. Again, Mike, thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate it. You guys can check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Happy holidays, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.